circle researcher who went over to Holland and stayed with the Van den Broeke family to interview Robert and see what's going on. And this is her initial reporting, or at least an introduction to her topic, which is this guy, Robert. I'm just going to call him Robert throughout. We know his name's Robert Van den Broeke. And you can go get all kinds of information online about this guy. As far as is known, Robert, a young Dutchman who lives in the southern Netherlands village of Heuven, is singular in his ability to consistently and accurately predict the appearance of new crop circle formations in his general vicinity. Now, 28 years old, that was in 2008, so he's 38 years old. He has since early adolescence experienced visions which contain both the location and the design of the new crop circle, accompanied by a clear sense that the new formation is either occurring at that precise moment or that it will occur soon. In the days just prior to these experiences, he generally feels a buildup of physical and or mental angst, nervousness and tension, which dissipates once the crop circle has actually formed. Over the years, he has also visually witnessed many crop circles forming, often accompanied by dramatic light phenomena, although not the same light anomalies in every case. In both daytime and at night, he has watched single or multiple spheres of usually bright white or yellowish light hovering over a field, often in the past the field directly behind his parents' home, under which the plants suddenly flatten, creating a new crop circle. Sometimes he reports seeing simply one or multiple flashes of light, after which a new circle or a more complex formation has been found in the field. And I'm skipping down for the sake of brevity. Lots of great pictures here. In addition to Robert's unique recognition of the presence of these unidentified energies, which are apparently present just before and during the appearance of crop circles, and often remnant afterwards in the fields, Robert increasingly exhibits other highly unusual sensitivities. He has become known in Holland as a medium of considerable ability. In other words, a person with enhanced psychic talent. And now, that was in 2008, regularly sees clients who have requested healing sessions and or readings for which there are long waiting lists. Now I'm going to depart from the article and just throw in a couple of cents worth here. A little more recent news. Robert continues to prognosticate or predict crop circle appearances very accurately, and an American filmmaker subsequently and recently went over and spent a week with Robert filming his technique, if you will, or just his beingness, and captured one of these sessions where the inspiration came to Robert. He sketched it out. They drove out to the place, and there was the pattern in the field, match for match. In remote viewing terms, it was 100%. So what my question is, how is it that one guy, Robert, who but from childhood was seeing unusual phenomenon and like these lights moving in the backyard, and then that evolved, I guess, into crop circle inspiration. Why Robert? And there's no indication here that he's gotten any other messages except that here comes a crop circle. And what would be the purpose of that if you were an entity, let's just say hypothetically, making some other kind of intelligence that's capable of flattening crops and making obviously not human-made crop circles? Why would you let some people know in advance they were going to happen and not other people? What do y'all think?
Well, I have an opinion on that because I know Robert, and we've just spoke this week, so that was kind of cool. But I think that he gets that. I think that they share, whoever they is, I think that they share this information so that what they do doesn't happen in a void. There's so many places, and where he lives is fairly rural. So the odds of this phenomenon occurring and nobody knowing about it or nobody reporting on it is great. So if there are messages meant to be found within the crop circle design itself, it would be lost unless there were a way to draw attention to the fact that this has happened. Do I think that's what happens every time? I don't know. But I do think that if there's going to be a reason for that, it would be something along those lines. And why it's Robert and not you or me, maybe he's more accepting of that. I would have a hard time getting up in the middle of the night and going and getting someone and saying, there's about to be a crop circle. And I guess maybe the first couple of times I would have a hard time with that. Once I knew it was a real thing, I would go. But you have to be open to being used as a channel for something like that. And apparently he is.
Well, for anyone listening who is skeptical towards crop circles, thinking that there are people out there in fields with boards making all of them. Some of them are made that way, but not all of them. And they can tell by looking at the plant, actually, that is affected by the crop circle. They found that there's a part of the plant that kind of popcorns when this crop circle phenomenon happens.
Yeah, the nodes.
The nodes, yeah.
Joints in the plant.
Of course, the question is, who is doing this, right? Is it aliens? Is it people in the hollow earth? Is it on the dark side of the moon? Or is it just it could be something more mundane, like private conglomerate companies testing technology, or testing satellites, or testing drones, but like you said, people have seen things flying over the fields, whether they're balls of light or them little gray balls or whatever. And I know some of them are hoaxes too, but everything is not a hoax. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so yeah, there are some really interesting crop circles out there, and there are some really elaborate, like just amazing crop circles out there, and we still don't have a conclusive answer to what's causing them, but it's totally interesting. I mean, in fact, we picked I guess our logo. We have a logo. If you go to our our main like page, you'll see our banner. It says Paraversal Universe, and we got a crop circle. And we picked that because it implied mystery, but also because the crop circle was the flower of life and order over chaos, and we thought that that was kind of cool. So, but anyways, yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Anyone else have an opinion?
I'd like to chime in a little bit about this. The idea that some of them, may be fake. Yeah, it could be, but some of those crop circles are so involved and so sophisticated and detailed that someone's trying to send us a message somehow, and I can't just rule out that they're all made up by somebody. So it's like it's further proof that we're not alone in the universe.
One final note here before we wrap this up. We were talking to Nick Redfern, and it's funny because with the crop circles, he says, yeah, they make the crop circles, but then they'll eventually go out there and plow the fields, and then of course the wheat or the crop, right, goes off to goes out to market, and people are eating cereal made with, crop circles. And I just thought that was interesting. But
well, Patty Greer, the crop circle researcher, reported, and I would imagine that this one here will too, that there are super seeds, not the crop itself, but the seeds, any seeds that survive, and they survive, they yield way more, like 100 times more. They're highly nutritive. That was one thing. And the other point I wanted to make was it's when evaluating authenticity of a crop circle in terms of was it made by human hoaxers or not, it's not how elaborate the design is, although that does seem to be, certainly you want to factor it in, but the real telling evidence are the stalks microwaved? Are they whirled by some force over a lot of tens or hundreds of feet and yards and even up to a mile? Braiding of crops and counter rotations, very pronounced physics. And Levengood in Britain studied this with lab associates. It's pretty well documented. So that's all. This is deep stuff. Oh, and snow circles. I know you were posting that, Kevin. People, and Van den Broek is seeing snow circles out behind his house too.
And they have tree circles now also. But we've come to the end of this show. We'd like to thank everyone for tuning in to Paraversal Universe and the Paralogian Report. And of course, we'd like to thank our esteemed panel of correspondents, Jean, Tom, and Kat, for their insightful analysis. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you.
Next Friday, February 15th, we'll be talking to paranormal investigators Daryl Marston from Breaking Paranormal and Alex King from Living Paranormal Magazine from the American Ghost Hunting Show. So check that out next week. Feel free to support any of these networks mentioned here tonight, as well as Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society Limited, 501c3 nonprofit organization, by donating. It's folks like you who ensure these excellent networks will be here tomorrow. To the believer, the evidence is overwhelming.
And to the skeptic, there will never be enough.
Thank you. Good night. God bless you. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you here next time.
Good night, everyone.
You are listening to WPHM Digital Broadcasting. The best in paranormal talk radio.